It's 113th International Women's Day today. The day is celebrated every year on 8th of March to bring attention to issues including gender equality, reproductive rights, and violence and abuse against girl children and women. Even as the Constitution of Nepal has guaranteed equal rights and representation of women in all the three tiers of the government, the implementation part has been rather feeble to say the least. Good evening, I'm Sarah Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. 113th International Women's Day marked today. Stakeholders draw attention to continued state apathy against women in the country. Election for the third president of the country slated for tomorrow. Federal parliamentarians and provincial assembly members arrive in Kathmandu. Ballot papers to include photographs of the candidates. Damage caused by the devastating earthquakes in Turkey estimated to exceed $100 billion. More than 230,000 buildings severely damaged. And two matches of the UEFA Champions League slated for tonight. Bayern Munich play Paris Saint-Germain. Tottenham clash against AC Milan. It's 113th International Women's Day today. The day is celebrated every year on 8th of March to bring attention to issues including gender equality, reproductive rights, and violence and abuse against girl children and women. The day is celebrated as Women's International Day in the memory of protests and demonstrations held by women in the U.S. city of Chicago calling for equal rights on this day in the year 1908. The day is also being celebrated in Nepal by holding various programs, while the government has also declared a public holiday today. Even as the Constitution of Nepal has guaranteed the 33% representation of women in all the three tiers of the government, the decision has not been implemented in practice. The incidents of physical abuse against girl children and women have been on the rise, fearing speculations that the condition of the women in the Nepali society is getting worse over the years. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, issuing a message on the occasion, has recalled the decisive contribution of women in all the movements for changes in the country. Emphasizing on the end to violence against women, Prime Minister Dahal has called on more women participation in entrepreneurship development. The government has introduced various programs with a view to increase women participation in politics as well as to strengthen their financial condition and entrepreneurship. However, failure to implement those plans and policies have hindered women's financial growth. Likewise, women's possession of properties is equally low. The number of working women in the country stands at 11,500,000. Only 2.6 million women are employed in the formal sector. 22% of the women from the working group have received job opportunities. Likewise, only 28% of the 923,000 industrial enterprises are owned by women. Those opting for foreign employment include 10% women. Despite the increase in women participation in small and cottage industries, women entrepreneurship has not increased due to lack of possession of property. An optimistic growth could not be witnessed in the financial status of women as women's rights have been limited to documents and dialogues. Women have been facing problems in registration of the industries as well as identifying market for the goods produced. Election for the third president of the country is slated for tomorrow. According to the Election Commission, ballot papers with the photograph of the presidential candidates are to be used in tomorrow's election. The eight-party alliance has fielded Ramchandra Paudel of Nepali Congress against Subhash Chandra Nimwang of CPN-UML. Most of the federal parliamentarians and provincial assembly members have arrived in Kathmandu for tomorrow's election, which will be held in the Parliament building in New Baneshwar. Meanwhile, Rashtriya Prajatantra Party has decided not to vote in the presidential election. Brief rain and thunder showers have been reported in the hilly region of the country, including the Kathmandu Valley today. Light rainfall has been reported in the hilly region of Bagmati, Gandaki and Lumbini provinces, while snowfall has been witnessed in the mountainous region. Temperature has dropped in the Kathmandu Valley with the change in the weather. Poor visibility has also affected flights at the Tribhuvan International Airport. According to the Meteorological Forecasting Division, rainfall is likely to occur in the mountainous and hilly region of Koshi, Gandaki and Karnali tomorrow as well. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: what should be done to increase women participation in leadership roles? Your options are A, proper implementation of laws, B, increase women awareness, and C, change in perception. Voting is on. Tap any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. 2 boys of Kohalpur, Banke have died while swimming in the Dudua River. The deceased have been identified as Monsoon Baral and Anil Bhatrai of Kohalpur, Ward number 12. Police have said that 2 of the 5 boys who were swimming in the river had drowned to death. The number of tourists arriving Nepal from India has increased. A total of 13,575 foreigners entered Nepal from the Belaya border point in Rupandehi in the month of February alone, while 4,275 foreigners had entered Nepal from the border point in January. The number has increased 3-fold in February. From among the 70 teams, most of the arriving foreigners are from Thailand, Myanmar, South Korea and Sri Lanka. A total of 20,220 foreigners had entered Nepal from Belaya in 2022. Hotel and tourism entrepreneurs are enthused with the increase in number of tourists. Production of mangoes is likely to increase in the Madhya province districts this year. Thanusha, Siraha and Saptari, among other districts, are popular for mango production. Thousands of farmers along the east-west highway in the province are involved in commercial mango farming. They are enthused with the prospect of increase in production of the fruit coming season. Mango produced in the province has high demand in major cities of the country, including Kathmandu and Pokhara. Time now for international update. Residents of a central Philippine province said that local tourism has been hit hard by the oil spill from a sunken fuel tanker after officials announced fishing and swimming bans in the coastal town of Pola. The MT Princess Empress was carrying about 800,000 liters of industrial fuel oil when it suffered engine trouble on February 28 in rough seas, according to the Coast Guard. It is thought to be lying at about 366 meters below sea level of Oriental Mindoro province, though the information still needed to be verified, according to the Environment Ministry. Local residents are anxious about the loss of income after the oil spill began washing up on the shores of Pola, where many residents largely depend on tourism for their livelihoods. According to Earth Island campaign manager and analyst Robert Medrano, the harmful effects caused by the oil spill to marine biodiversity could last years and have a heavy impact on food supply to the locals. Joy Jeff, a Nigerian woman who has been wanted in Italy since 2010, has been flown back to Rome, where she has been sentenced to 13 years in prison for crimes including running a prostitution ring, Italian police said. Jeff, who is 48, was one of the few women on Italy's most wanted list, police added, describing her as a prominent figure in the Nigerian mafia. The extradition was facilitated by a treaty signed by Nigeria and Italy in 2020. Italian investigators in the eastern city of Ancona said Jeff played a leading role in trafficking women to Italy, Spain and Netherlands, where they were forced into prostitution by violence and threats. She has been convicted in her absence. Video released by the Italian police showed the women being flown from the Nigerian capital, Abuja, to Ciampino Airport in Rome, where she was taken away in a wheelchair by police. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said on Tuesday that those entering the UK in small boats would be detained and swiftly removed. The new legislation will mean that anyone who arrives this way will be prevented from claiming asylum and deported either back to their homeland or to so-called safe third countries. Those entering the country illegally would no longer be able to use anti-slavery laws to try to block removal. Sunak has made stopping boat arrivals one of his 5 key priorities after the number of migrants arriving on the south coast of England soared to more than 45,000 last year, up 500% in the last 2 years. Anger over immigration has played a defining role in British politics over the last decade, and Sunak's Conservatives hope that by taking a hard line, they can rebuild their popularity as they trail the main opposition, Labour Party, by around 20% points in opinion polls. The UN's refugee agency said it was profoundly concerned by the proposals, which would deny people the right to asylum, no matter how genuine and compelling individual cases may be. The government said on the first page of the draft legislation that it may not be compatible with Britain's obligations under the European Convention on Human Rights, meaning it would face legal challenges if made into law. Time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Head coach of the women's national volleyball team, Jan de Brandt, has arrived in Nepal. 64-year-old coach Brandt is shouldering the responsibility of the head coach of the women's national volleyball team for the Women's Challenge Cup. Remuneration of Coach Brandt is being funded by the International Federation of Volleyball, FIVB. During his term, Brandt will also coach the women age group teams. Prior to this, Brandt had served as the assistant coach of the Belgian women's team from May to October of 2022 and also has the experience of working in Hungary. The national women's volleyball team have been training from February 20 under Jagdish Bhatta. The Challenge Cup is the biggest tournament to have been organized by the Volleyball Association and will be contested by the Maldives, China, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan alongside Nepal and will be held in May. That's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will be at 10:30 tonight. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.